principles, here's number one. People are important, each and every one, and that means you and that means me. And people everywhere. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number two. Treat people kindly and treat them fairly too. Just be kind and care a lot in everything you do. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number three. This is an accepting place where everyone is free to grow in spirit and in heart. And open mind's the key. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number four. Keep searching for meaning and truth forevermore. There is no creed, I grow my own. It grows along with me. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number five. Listen to your conscience when actions you decide. Democracy's the way of the free. People are in charge. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number six. If we work together, there's a lot that we can fix. Our goal is world community with peace for everyone. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are. Unitarian principles, here's number seven. Respect the web of life in which we all live. We're all connected. You can't just do one thing. 'Cause these are the things that make us who we are.
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Hillsborough online worship service. My name is Lou Gadol, and I am your worship coordinator today. I would like to thank Holly Lux Sullivan, our speaker, Wendy Calvin, our producer, Aviva Enoch, our music coordinator, and the many wonderful singers who will be featured throughout the service. Most of all, I would like to thank all of you for joining us. We are a community of liberal, open-minded people who strive to connect with one another in love. Our spiritual home is located at 1710 Old NC 10 Highway, but our community stretches far and wide with loved ones who join us from all over the country as we engage in Sunday worship online. We are a people defined by covenant, not creed. That means that we are committed to a way of being with one another rather than a statement of belief. To that end, we support each other in spiritual growth and deepening of faith. We challenge one another to find more love, both inside ourselves and in the world. And today, we welcome you with open arms to our house of worship.
Connection and Commitment by Rebecca Parker. As we kindle this flame, may it spark in each of us connection and commitment to this living UU tradition and to each other.
Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the source of life, knowing that we are not our own. Earth made us. Let us covenant with one another to keep faith with the community of resistance, never to forget that life can be saved from that which threatens it by even small bands of people choosing to put into practice an alternative way of life. And let us covenant with one another to seek for an ever deeper awareness of that which springs up inwardly in us. Even when our hearts are broken by our own failure or the failure of others cutting into our lives, even when we have done all we can and life is still broken, there is a universal love that has never broken faith with us and never will. This is the ground of hope, and the reason we can be bold in seeking to fulfill the promise.
Spirit of life, come unto me. Sing in my heart, read the words, all the stirrings of compassion. Blow in the wind, rise in the sea. Move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice. Roots hold me close, wings set me free. Spirit of life, come to me, come to me.
Ours is a welcoming community where we find connection, a sharing community where our joys are celebrated, and a caring community where our sorrows are lessened. Each Sunday, we take a moment to share and reflect on the special happenings that have occurred this week in our lives. For those of you who would like to share in the comments or the chat, please do so, and know that everything shared aloud or felt in silence is held dearly in the heart of this community.
We will get through, not unscathed to be sure. Too much has already been lost. Too many beloveds have been lost. So not unscathed, but a new kind of whole, the kind that only emerges from the going through it, from the wrestling with it, from the demanding something in exchange for what we lose, making clear what we claim, making clear what we demand in return is not personal gain or revenge, but a blessing, shaped by our loves and our losses, our sorrows and our joys, our failures and our triumphs. A blessing shaped by our bodies and minds, by our singing and dancing, by our praying and listening, by the beauty we persist in co-creating, the justice we insist upon. A blessing shaped by our dedication to the values that shape us, unremitting compassion, a joyful and radical inclusion, a preferential option for the poor and marginalized, a deep and wide dismantling of white supremacy, honoring the great mystery of life with appreciation and humility, and with a commitment to collective liberation that frees all. A blessing for all.
One more step, we will take one more step, till there is peace for us, and everyone will take one more step. One
In case you haven't been keeping track, Saturday will mark a year since the US was declared to be in a state of emergency because of the spread of COVID-19. For most of us, that has meant staying at home, avoiding travel, and not seeing many of the people we care the most about, or the folks who are usually everyday fixtures in our lives, but we're not as close to. Next Monday, my husband and I will have worked from home for an entire year. We haven't eaten in a restaurant, gone to the grocery store. Happily, we've been able to do pickup. And I've cooked more meals at home in this year than in the rest of my life put together. Literally, historically, I did not cook very often. And I can count on one hand the number of times I've gone into any store, and then it was CVS. Turns out CVS is pretty exciting. Each week I meet up with a work friend to get takeout, and we sit each in our own car side by side with the windows down and have lunch together. That is my life-saving social time. But in January, her son, whose university had students on campus and in dorms, as well as my friend, got sick with COVID. I suspect he picked it up at school, but she's a nurse and works in the homes of people who have had it, so who knows? And honestly, it doesn't really matter. All I knew was that she and I had had our lunch in our cars the same day that she then felt sick. And I started to panic. Not that I might get sick, but that I might get my husband sick. He has type 1 diabetes, putting him at greater risk of severe illness if he gets COVID. Had my selfish need to see a friend, if only in our cars, meant that I could have it, be carrying it, and give it to him? Quickly, I got tested, and happily the test was negative. But since then, I've had some difficult math in my head. How do I measure my need to connect with a friend against my desire to keep my beloved safe and healthy? His well-being isn't worth that lunch together, yet my heart and mind yearn to be with others. I'm sure many, maybe all of you, have performed these same mental gymnastics. How desperate am I to see someone I care about, to be with someone else? What price am I willing to pay? If I've learned one thing this year, it's that we are all even more connected than we ever thought. It's obvious in maps of how the virus has spread, as well as the times I ordered something like peanut butter from the grocery store and got a text from the store that said basically, nope. I felt that connection every time I got an email from a coworker that said, hey, I miss you, or I'm lonely. These things and a million more make me realize both the connection I have with countless others and how the pandemic has affected that connection. In 1975, theologian Howard Thurman said, using the gendered language of the time, there's only one place of refuge for any man, and that is in another man's heart. We all need that place of refuge in another's heart. We need each other. It's that simple. The pandemic took away our ability to be together safely, and as we mark a year of isolation, we have to look at how we continue to keep ourselves and each other safe and connect. We need our glorious planet too. For me, at least, all too often, the interdependent web of all existence of which we are a part is theoretical. Nice theological language, yes, but not something I give much thought to. But when toilet paper was scarce, I became profoundly aware of the hundreds of moving parts all around the world that helped me get those precious squares without me ever having to think about it. Those moving parts were and are people who work hard, care for their parents and children, and want the best for all those they care about. People who turn fibers into sheets of paper, which are put on the little rolls that are packaged and shipped all over the world. People who maybe have had someone dear become sick with COVID or die from it. People who have lost jobs and homes. The interdependent web is real. You probably saw videos online last spring of wild goats coming down from their mountain home to take over the deserted streets of a Welsh town, eating up the hedges and flowers and window boxes. A study of 11 cities shows that air pollution caused by cars, trucks, buses, and planes fell by about 30% at the height of pandemic lockdown. And in January this year, A snowy owl was hanging out on a baseball diamond in Central Park, made the birders go crazy because a snowy owl had not been seen by birders in the city since 1890. But quieter city, snowy owl. The earth has been affected by the lockdowns too, though seems mostly for the better. As we hit the year mark of this terrible disease in our country, we see that in the US alone, 515,000 people have died from it. 28 million have tested positive for it, and every last one of us has been affected by it. Whether we wear 2 masks, as the CDC now recommends, or refuse to wear one at all. We are starved for socialization, for meeting new people and hugging old ones, and for the million ways in which we intertwine our lives with others. We've been robbed of being with those closest to us, as well as the communal experience of getting wrapped up in a movie or concert in a room full of strangers. For me, and I suspect for many of you, last year didn't really have much sense of time. I have a sense of the before time and COVID time. In the before time, I got to have lunch with my work girlfriends several days a week and took a girls' trip every year with 2 of my dearest, oldest friends. During COVID, my friends and I are stuck in our own homes, trapped in Zoom meetings most of the day. Last year's girls' trip got canceled, of course, and this year's is looking pretty unlikely to happen. We've all distracted and busied ourselves in a million ways, working out, cooking and baking, playing games, learning card tricks, discovering TikTok and Clubhouse. We've reached for connection in a million ways, and we're exhausted by our efforts. And what is this connection we're working so hard to maintain? Social scientist and author Brené Brown says she defines connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from the relationship. I imagine the connections we have with those we love, that energy that Brown talks about, as invisible threads of light, weaving us together across distance and isolation. Those threads stretch as far as they need to when the people we love are far away, but they don't break. They're made brighter and more alive when we reach out. And those strands become thin. The brightness of their light dims when we don't properly tend our relationships. Still, they don't break. And there are things we can do to ensure those connections, those beams of light, are healthy. The threads between my husband and me, who talk constantly, are short and thick, sturdy, frequently nourished threads. The threads between me and my friends in Burlington and Graham and Raleigh and Greensboro are a little longer, but still robust because we text frequently and stay more or less in constant contact. Then my light tethers stretch to Ohio, Illinois, and Florida. Since the pandemic began, my people and I have all made more effort to remain connected, even though we haven't been able to see each other in person like usual. In N.K. Jemison's novel, The Stone Sky, an immortal creature says, "That is how one survives eternity, or even a few years. Friends, family, moving with them, moving forward." So how do we move forward? How do we continue to keep our tethers bright and strong across miles that remain unbridgeable when we're all so very tired of staying home and not seeing, not hugging the people we love? We still connect with people old and new. Not only is the congregation hosting Zoom gatherings when the weather won't let us be outside, but so are event spaces and museums. Comedians are having online comedy shows. Tabletop gaming that used to happen at the game store is now online. A few weeks ago, for just $8, I joined the North Carolina Museum of Art's Mindful Museum Virtual Art and Self-Care Hour. Beforehand, we were encouraged to create a space for ourselves where we wouldn't be interrupted, light a candle if we wanted, and bring whatever art supplies we wanted to work with. I am not particularly artistic, but I have a boatload of coloring books I don't usually make time for. So I pulled out my colored pencils and an unfinished picture I'd started to work on, and that was my art. It was a lovely temporary community. Recently, too, I attended a conference that included both lectures and small group sessions where we got to talk with one another. Some of the folks there attended the conference every year, and it was my first time, but it was good to be with other people, even ones I didn't know. Again, for the time we were in those Zoom rooms, we were a community, just as we would be in person. And this year, the conference cost just $50. Usually it's at a conference center in Georgia and costs a lot more and would have required a couple of days of driving plus the 3 days of the conference. So between the time and the expense, I wouldn't have even considered it. Now it's possible. Theater groups are offering online productions as well. This week, I got to watch a special 25th anniversary celebration of Rent for $25. In the before time, such a thing would have happened on Broadway with tickets going for hundreds of dollars probably. I couldn't have even considered going to see it. Something that's kept my friends and I alive this year has been dropping little gifts into each other's mailboxes, then texting to say, hey, check your box. I know that when a friend has dropped something by my house and told me to look on my porch, you'd think they'd left a solid gold brick there by the way I reacted. For friends further away, sending a card or note is about as simple as it gets. And if anything, getting mail has become even more of an event now that we don't have real events to look forward to. None of these things take the place of meals with family and friends, or even conferences and workshops where we sit around on couches talking after meals. But all of these things help us deal with the reality that we can't safely do all those other things yet. So too does the promise of spring and summer, the promise of weather to warm our cold, exhausted hearts and give us new resolve to make it through while we wait for vaccinations. We have to remain vigilant even as restrictions begin to be lifted. I know I've slipped up. The other day I got out of my car to pump gas and forgot to put my mask on. It was one of those beautiful, warm, sunny days that lets us know spring is just almost here. And I forgot. It only took a moment to remember, and I dove right back into the car and grabbed my mask. We have to remember that we nourish those invisible threads of connection by keeping each other and ourselves safe too. This year has felt for many of us like an eternity, but by connecting with people, even if only on computer screens or through the mail for a while longer, we strengthen the tethers of care that connect us. Imagine that ray of light beaming out from your sternum to all the people you care about. That light splits into infinite threads that link you to someone else. Today, follow one of those threads. See who it connects you to. Reach out to that person. Maybe do it again tomorrow with a different thread, a different person. You can spin new threads by participating in an event online or outside. Trust that those connections will be there. Those threads will not be severed, however long this separation continues. May it be so. Amen, and blessed be.
Listen to my heart song. I will never forget.
For our closing words, I will read The Moments of My High Resolve by Howard Thurman. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. Despite the dullness and barrenness of the days that pass, if I search with due diligence, I can always find a deposit left by some former radiance. But I had forgotten. At the time, it was full-orbed, glorious, and resplendent. I was sure that I would never forget. In the moment of its fullness, I was sure that it would illuminate my path for all the rest of my journey. I had forgotten how easy it is to forget. There was no intent to betray what seemed so sure at the time. My response was whole, clean, authentic. But little by little, there crept into my life the dust and grit of the journey, details, lower level demands, all kinds of cross currents, nothing momentous, nothing overwhelming, nothing flagrant, just wear and tear. If there had been some direct challenge, a clear-cut issue, I would have fought it to the end and beyond. In the quietness of this place, surrounded by the all-pervading presence of God, my heart whispers, keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, that in fair weather or in foul, in good times or in tempests, in the days when the darkness and the foe are nameless or familiar, I may not forget that to which my life is committed. Keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve.
We extinguish this flame, but not the spark of joy in our worship, the fire of commitment, or the warmth of community. Blessed be, my friends, until we meet again.
To my loved ones and relations, with me in spirit every day, to neighbors I have not yet met, close to home and far away. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. To my friends who make good music, sharing joy both far and wide, and to those who we depend on to teach, to heal and guide. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. And to all who hear this message, to strangers and to friends, here's an embrace of music until we meet again. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Be safe, be well, you mean the world to me. Come on now, be safe, wash your hands, you mean the world to me. Be safe, wear your